Hi students, back again to talk about the family theory paper. So you have a major assignment that's due on April 29th. Mark that in your calendars. That's when this paper is due. Um, and you need to write a 10 to 15 page paper. That does not include cover page or references. So it needs to be 10 minimum plus your reference pages and cover page. You do not need to write an abstract. That's not necessary for this class. But please choose a theory that resonates with you as you start to read and learn in this class. The goal that I have for you is that once you leave this class, you'll at least have a sort of solid idea of the theory that speaks to you when you're working with families, and have a solid groundwork so that you could actually start to work with families from the theoretical perspective of the theory of your choice. So like the project, you're going to choose a theory, you're going to explain the theorist, theoretical tenets, and the techniques. You'll then apply the theory to a family in a movie, book, or TV show of choice. You need to provide a case conceptualization of the family. So for those of you who have been in my previous classes, we've dealt with case conceptualizations and case studies in a variety of forms. But basically what it is just a scenario that describes the family. So a short narrative describing who the family members are, what their dynamics are, other important information like information related to culture, socioeconomic status, maybe even the careers of the caregivers in the family, and if they're living in a home together, if it's a nuclear family or a lesbian couple that's a little non-traditional, or a more communal type family situation that involves grandparents and young children and all different generations living in one home. Whatever the dynamic of the family structure is, describe it. Also, try to describe their interpersonal dynamics and any pertinent mental health concerns or issues that may be important in the family system. And you also want to touch on the communication issues that you would, as a therapist, be working on with this family. On the handout it says, for example, Virginia Satir might hone in on areas for growth, creativity, and communication strengthening, whereas feminist family therapy may have more of a focus on empowerment, focusing on family strengths and equity in the family system. Go ahead and write this in APA format as usual with proper use of grammar. Describe so I'm looking again at the description of the family. We touched on a lot of these: background, culture, socioeconomic status, but also what I didn't mention is belief systems and religion. That is an important consideration as well. Describe the relationships with members of the family, psychological aspects of each person's inner world and strengths and weaknesses. A family history is required regardless of whether or not you use the genogram or the family mapping that we learned about this semester. But if you do add a genogram, it's an extra 25 points. So you may want to consider that. It's also just an incredibly helpful tool in working with families. Sometimes a family can come in and you might think that you've got it all figured out and under control, but then they come back in a week later and you're having a hard time remembering who Aunt Sarah's related to directly, or there might be a family member that comes back into the picture that maybe wasn't a part of the clinical presentation to begin with. And if you have the genogram or the family map, it makes it a lot easier to try to understand how that person fits in. So looking at the rubric here, you have 175 points total 150 if you don't add the genogram. The theory is clearly described, including theorist, theoretical tenets, and techniques. That's for 40 points. Theories applied to the family of choice. Application includes how counseling occurs with this family through the lens of the theory, goals, etc. So I really want to see you apply the theory to the family and describe how you would work with them. The strengths and areas of concern are described, and a plan of how to address the family through therapy is proposed. And there's a detailed explanation of the family and its members, including strengths and weaknesses of the family system, and detailed descriptions of the family members. APA style is used effectively. That's 20 points. Those last two that I just described were worth 25 points. And the genogram, again, is optional at 25 extra points. Please, please, please read this handout. When in doubt, read the handout. Follow the rubric. And again, as always, if you have questions, let me know. Thank you.